Let's check in with Lindsay Duncombe, who was checking the facts. Lindsay.
Checking the facts. Oh, yeah. CBC. Carney's party is fracturing. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today, we've got one of Carney's Liberals going on CTV, and he is absolutely pissed that Carney is going to India. They have swept the whole thing of Hardeep Singh Najjar's end. Carney's got a problem, and he can't fix it because he's in India right now. Let's jump into this. Starting this episode off, look at this. Juno News posting this. Atlantic Canada is now set to receive its first shipment of Australian liquefied natural gas after shipping it 25,000 kilometers across the ocean instead of purchasing Canadian LNG directly from Alberta. This is stupidity wrapped up in a nutshell here, and this is being posted everywhere. We've got this exact story on Bloomberg as well. Australia is shipping LNG to Canada, looking beyond its main buyers in Asia as demand for super chilled fuel in the region falters. I thought Canada was going to be its own best customer. Yeah, turns out we're not. Jumping ahead, we've got Sukh Dhaliwal here on CTV. So if you remember, this is the guy who got into a fight with Chandra Arya, another Liberal, the one that Mark Carney kicked out of his seat, stole his seats, basically said that there was something wrong with Chandra Arya just to steal his seat. And until this day, they've still not given any proof of that. This gets a little bit complicated here, but back in December 2024, Dhaliwal attempted to introduce a motion, as it says here on Wikipedia, in the House of Commons seeking recognition of the 1984 anti-Sikh riots in India as a G word. And Chandra Arya, among other MPs, called out no when he brought this up while Dhaliwal was reading the motion, and then he got super pissed off and he threatened Chandra Arya on his way out. Is all very dramatic. Well, since then, Mark Carney stole Chandra Arya's seat, and now this guy is running his mouth on CTV while Carney's going to India because a government official who won't be named has essentially swept all of this under the rug. So the Toronto Star says ahead of Carney trip, Ottawa says India is no longer linked to V-word crimes in Canada. Isn't that convenient? The problem went away, poof, just like that. Like Houdini, just poof, it's gone. So we don't know who from the Liberal government is telling media that this whole India Hardeep Singh Najjar situation isn't a problem anymore. Modi's not a bad guy anymore. Meanwhile, this guy hates Modi because, well, he's a Sikh.
I'm joined live by Sukh Dhaliwal, a Liberal MP from British Columbia, who on social media today wrote that he denounces the comments from that unnamed official who asserted the government was confident India was not engaging in transnational repression in Canada. Hi, Mr. Dhaliwal. As you saw, Mr. Dhaliwal, that news break late yesterday, about 24 hours ago, that this unnamed official had basically said there's no longer a threat in Canada vis-a-vis India. What went through your mind? What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction is, and I had to strongly condemn this one, and I strongly condemn these remarks made by the government official because the claim is very disconnected from the reality the community is facing on the ground, and also it contradicts with the assessments of Canada National Security and Law Enforcement Agencies, including NSIA, the RCMP, and the CSIS.
You hear that? This guy strongly condemns the remarks coming from the Carney government, some unnamed official. This guy is going to be in hot water when Carney comes back. He's going totally rogue here on CTV.
We've heard very differently from the RCMP themselves. We've heard differently from CSIS. And this is someone speaking, with, we don't even know, we can't even name them because the conditions of the briefing were that they, be speaking to us on a background, the condition of being on background or anonymous. Have you been presented any evidence from your own government or from those law enforcement agencies that would support the claim made?
No, not at all. In fact, that's...
This guy, do you have any evidence? No, I have no evidence. What are you doing here then? Why is he on here? This is so ridiculous.
In fact, that's why, I said I fully support strong action to protect public safety and uphold the confidence in Canadian institutions. When we see, briefings like this, people lose interest in Canadian or trust in Canadian institutions. And that's why, I call for this matter to be addressed without delay, including a formal review of the judgment and responsibilities exercised by this individual. And all we are hearing right now, I'm sure you heard as well recently. In fact, when you hear an activist got a duty to warn on Sunday, it's not only him. In fact, it's gone so low that now his wife and his children are at risk, and we are saying that we can brush this issue off. So this official is totally out of touch. He's sitting in Ottawa bubble, does not know what's going on the ground, the realities on the ground.
This official is acting on Carney's directives. This guy is unbelievable. To simplify the situation here, so basically this guy is a Sikh. All Khalistanis are Sikhs, but not all Sikhs are Khalistanis. So Khalistanis will hide within the religion of Sikhs. On the other side, you've got Chandra Arya, and he's a Hindu. Essentially, Modi promotes Hinduism in India, and there's these strong allegations that Modi sent people over to Pau Hardeep Singh Najjar, who was in his riding in Surrey, who's a Sikh. So you can see this conflict here. And then you've got Khalistanis, which are all Sikhs. They once again hide within that religion, but Khalistanis are the separatists, I believe mostly down in Punjab, but a lot of them have come over to Australia and Canada, and they're doing their separatist movements under the shield of Canada or Australia, which is ridiculous. So now you've got Carney going over to India and just like telling someone to put out a message and say, you know what, anything that happened with Modi doesn't matter. And it's pissed this guy off. This guy's sticking by his values, and Mark Carney, it's all about money, which I'll get to here in a second. This guy continues to go off here.
So I just spoke to the finance minister and I asked him point blank, is this information that you have as well? Or are you endorsing the message from this official of your own government? And he essentially said that he wasn't even aware that the statement has been made. We don't have specific statements from the Prime Minister's office. Have you been in touch with anyone in the sort of upper echelons of cabinet who represent your government on this file to see if this is how they feel?
Prime Minister has raised this issue with Prime Minister of India at that time, and that if they want to, formally go ahead with the relationship building as well as the trade, then they got to stop this transnational repression that's happening, and they got to cooperate with our law enforcement agencies. A rule of law and in Canadian lives, it will take priority over trade.
Carney will make sure that the rule of law will take priority over trade. Who are we talking about here? Mark Carney. He doesn't care about Sukh Dhaliwal at all. He doesn't care about any of these liberals. Now, if we look at the timing of all this, Mark Carney going over to India, Sukh Dhaliwal having a meltdown here on CTV. If we look at Carney's itinerary, what do we have? February 27th today and tomorrow on the 28th, Prime Minister Mark Carney will arrive in Mumbai. Over the next 2 days, he'll participate in separate business engagements, interactions with Indian and Canadian CEOs, industry and financial experts, innovators, educators, as well as Canadian pension funds based in India. Interesting. It's always coming back to those pension funds, isn't it? Of one of these companies, could it be, as it says here, interact with Indian and Canadian CEOs, industry, financial experts, innovators, etc.? Could one of these be CleanMax? CleanMax India's IPO backed by Brookfield. Yeah, this is February 25th. As in 2 days ago, this company just IPO'd with Brookfield backing them. Is Carney going to check in on his investments? So this is a business-to-business renewables company. Not only that, it's the largest one in India. So I'd bet you a peanut butter and jam sandwich that Mark Carney's going to visit this company. Its clients are not state utilities, but corporate heavyweights, including Apple and Cisco, other large industrial groups. Nearly 85% of its customers are subsidiaries of multinationals. That shift in clientele changes the economics of business. It allows CleanMax to command higher tariffs and helps explain the gleaming EBIT margins of about 40%. So these guys are big business. They are going to help Mark Carney roll out his net zero agenda. Now, in this readout here, showing where Mark Carney's going, it doesn't mention the companies. I'll just state I do not know if he's going to go there, but if we were to play devil's advocate and just say we went to the airport in Mumbai, which is right here, Mark Carney would be flying in the big private Canadian jet, land the jet here. He would, well, the pilot would, and say they wanted to go visit CleanMax. How far away? Well, you can see on the side here, 42 minutes by car here. They get in a car, nice 42-minute drive along the ocean here. And where's CleanMax? It's down here, right in the tip of Mumbai. You see right there, CleanMax. Not too far away. Here's their official website. Our future is powered by our actions. Your way to net zero. I mean, come on. This is where Mark Carney's going. If he doesn't go here, then I will be absolutely shocked. Powering a smart transition to net zero. Yeah, okay, we know where Carney's going. He just decided to take our big gas-guzzling jet over there to do it on our dime and not on his. And just so you can see here on this website, we've got a live tracker of Carney's plane. So he flew out of Athens, so that's where they must have refueled, and then we see they're flying this way around the world, and they're almost in Mumbai, so Carney's jet is right there. So they are likely only like an hour or two away from Mumbai. This is where they're going to land here, and then as I showed, They could just easily drive down and go right to CleanMax. I was checking to see which airport they landed at, but as you see in the time of filming this, they haven't landed yet. They're still in the air. You can see on their website here, though, a window into where Mark Carney wants to take our country. So we've got data and digital infrastructure. They want to do AI and all that stuff, net zero, automotive. Carney had the EV mandate and now the EV subsidies. I don't know what FMCG stands for here, but it's got food, so carbon credits on food. Cement, green cement. They already do that in Alberta. Pharmaceuticals, textile, manufacturing, aviation. I mean, they've got green jet fuel with Infinium. Remember Infinium? Mark Carney saying it's a great opportunity that they lobbied the UK government and then invested 1.1 billion in this green jet fuel company and then essentially forced the UK to buy the jet fuel so they could make a bunch of money off of it. I mean, these guys are swindlers. Meanwhile, here in Canada, we've got breaking. Canada loses 35,000 jobs in December, almost all in high-paying sectors. 0 jobs have been created under Carney. 0. And almost 40% of the low number of job vacancies are now in accommodations and food service. This guy's flying around the world in our gas-guzzling jet, meeting with net zero companies. Canada is losing massive amounts of jobs, as we see here, manufacturing, wholesale trade, transportation, and warehousing. These are all high-paying jobs, as Table Salt pointed out. Education, services. Then the Liberals are now sending, was it $8 million over to Cuba under the guise of humanitarian aid? Does it ever even get there? Mark Carney's foreign minister, Anita Nand, says the Liberal government is planning on sending aid packages to Cuba as the country faces a growing power shortage. Of course, they're going to send more of our money away from our own country when our own citizens need it so desperately. Why are we responsible for helping every other country that can't look after themselves? Perhaps the Liberals should start focusing on those suffering homelessness and food insecurity here in Canada instead of going on their ongoing international virtue signaling. Yeah, I mean, this is every single city now in Canada. There needs to be mass protest against the government for what they're doing. Of course, the Elbows Up crew and so many people have been bamboozled by Mark Carney. More suffering is needed to wake people up. And a quick update on the plan to print out all of the conflicts of interest for Mark Carney. I'm going to put it out in my own town and test it out and see how things go. And after that, then I will release that to have it go across Canada, because once the genie's out of the bottle, you can't come back. Oh, and I want to quickly address a bunch of you. I've seen thousands of comments saying that you can't see my videos. They don't come up in your feed anymore. So YouTube changed their entire platform 3 weeks ago. They switched over from their old algorithm to the new Gemini AI platform. So it's sitting on a completely different thing. So I don't know if it's going to take a couple of weeks to get back into the algorithm, but the number one thing you can do is go to my channel, and this is the only time you're going to hear me say this, is subscribe. As you notice, I don't ever ask people to subscribe. I don't believe in asking for that. Same with likes and thumbs and all that stuff. I believe if you just put out good content, you don't need to ask for that. Everyone knows to like and subscribe, but subscribe and then go turn on the notification bell. So if you click on this and then go all notifications, then you will get all of my videos. This is the only way to protect against this new algorithm not sharing it. So if you go all, then you will be notified of every single video. Jumping ahead here, we've got Sun Duran posting this. The price of beef is just insane. Food inflation hit 7.3% in Canada. Prices keep going up. What has he got here? Some expensive beef.
My jaw was literally dropped on the floor. I was standing there in shock. A 4-pack of steak at Costco, $105. How are people affording groceries nowadays? I don't get it. I walk around Costco. It's not just these steaks, by the way. It's like everything is so expensive.
$105 for 4 steaks. Welcome to Canada. I remember back in the day, you could go to the Keg and buy a steak at the restaurant for $25, and that was expensive. In this case, you have to cook them yourself at that price. And that doesn't include everything else, potatoes and asparagus and whatever else. Oh, we got someone posting the watermelon here. Yeah. Remember this one I showed you, the $18 piece of watermelon? Turns out this is a quarter. As in, this watermelon was $72 if you put all 4 pieces together. $72 for a watermelon. Oh, we got some more here. $234 for whatever piece of meat this is. Got more steaks here, $84. And with all that, we got Food Professor posting this. 15 years ago, yogurt maker Chobani tried to enter Canada to build a plant in Kingston, Ontario, but was blocked by regulatory and supply management barriers. So instead of fighting long term, they expanded elsewhere into the United States. And today they buy 9% of all the milk produced in New York State. They process 1.6 billion pounds of milk per year in in New York. They built the world's largest yogurt plant in Idaho, and now they're building an even bigger one in Rome, New York, over 2 million square feet and 1,000+ jobs. This is the true cost of supply management. Rich families do not want to have competition, and they're in bed with the Liberal Party, and everyone else in Canada pays for it. Jumping ahead here, we've got this one from CBC Watcher. So what is the CBC putting on the network these days? Of course, it's talking about Donald Trump.
Now, those promises featured heavily tonight in Donald Trump's State of the Union address. Let's check in with Lindsay Duncombe, who was checking the facts. Lindsay.
Checking the facts. Oh, yeah. CBC.
Well, Adrian, I was struck by how the president spoke about the economy in glowing terms. He described it as roaring, and that's an exaggeration. He said inflation is plummeting. Again, an exaggeration. Inflation is slowing, but it is still higher than the Fed's target of 2%. I want you to check this out. If you look at the graphic, you can see there's a big post-pandemic drop that actually started before Trump took office. And January's inflation rate was 2.4%.
It's quite incredible that this news network putting this stuff out, they'd never do this for Mark Carney and fact check him all this. And in regards to fact checking, they have a whole new segment that's fact checking. Ironic that they're the ones putting out propaganda that needs to be fact checked.
Economists say it is those tariffs that continue to drive costs up.
Okay, so in terms of tariffs, certainly he spoke about them tonight. What did he have to say?
Okay, we've had enough of this. I mean, this is nonsense. They would never, ever talk about Mark Carney, how bad he's doing, how bad our economy's doing. It's absolutely insane. Coast to coast, you've got David Eby running a $13 billion deficit now, absolutely breaking this province I live in. We've got Susan Holt here on CTV. Look at this. New Brunswick deficit projected to be the biggest ever. These socialist governments are absolutely destroying the country. King Carney is running the biggest one of them all. Unfortunately for these fools, I think Carney's the only one who knows how to work the system to get rich off of it. I don't know what they're getting from it. What's Eby getting from bankrupting us? His cushy paycheck, $227,000 a year or whatever he's making. They're actively and consciously running cover for the Liberals, and it's egregious. We've got Pierre Poilievre flying over to the UK and Germany for first international trip as opposition leader. So Poilievre making some moves here. So Poilievre going over to Europe, Mark Carney and, well, Matt Genereux going over to India. And this one here saying that Matt Genereux will not speak ill of the Conservatives. This is interesting. He's having some buyer's remorse, it looks like.
I have no bad words to say about people on the other side of the aisle. Many of them are friends and deep friends, and a lot of them continue to text me. I hope that to remain friends, but certainly it wasn't an easy decision to do this, and it was something that I know is there's some that don't agree with it, and fortunately that's, I guess we're going to leave that.
What do you think?
I don't know if people can really be friends with someone on the other side of the political spectrum if you're both heavily invested in politics. I don't really know. I have got some friends who are not very politically involved. They're in the center left, they're floating around, and I don't hold it against them because they don't really know what's going on, but I can't really see someone being so left and so right really being good friends. That's a tough one because your base beliefs don't align. Not to mention Genereux's friends there in the Conservatives just look at him as a complete sellout, a man with low moral character. Does anyone want to be friends with someone like that? So he's probably going to lose most of his friends.